Chapter 1. The Mysterious Prisoner. Arcanis Prime was a city of endless contrasts, a sprawling neon jungle suspended in the void between stars. Its skyline was pierced by towering megastructures that gleamed with polished metal and shifting holographic advertisements, casting kaleidoscopic reflections onto the crowded streets below. Yet beneath this shimmering veneer, the city pulsed with a grittier reality, a labyrinth of shadowed alleys, black market bazaars, and hidden enclaves where power, desperation, and survival intertwined in a complex dance. It was here, amid the chaos of vendors hawking alien spices, cyborg mercenaries sharpening their blades, and data hackers weaving through the digital maze, that a single figure moved with an uncanny stillness that set her apart from the throng. Her name was Alara, though none in the city dared call her by it openly. She was known simply as the prisoner or the slave, words whispered in fearful awe or contempt depending on the speaker. The truth, however, was far more complicated than the labels painted on her by a society hungry for easy narratives. Alara was an enigma wrapped in grace and shadow, her very existence challenging the assumptions of those around her. She moved with the fluid precision of a predator and the quiet dignity of a queen wronged by fate, her every step measured, her gaze piercing through the haze of neon and smoke that clung to the city like a shroud. Around her slender neck rested a device that many mistook for a slave collar, a sleek band of metal etched with arcane circuitry and softly glowing with a faint blue light. To the untrained eye, it was a mark of ownership, a symbol branded on those condemned to servitude in the sprawling underworld of Arcanis Prime. The collar was said to suppress the wearer's will, a cruel instrument used by slavers to bind their captives both physically and mentally. Those who saw Alara through such lenses recoiled in revulsion or assumed she was broken, a victim to be pitted or exploited. But the collar was not what it seemed. It was not a shackle, but a seal, a protector, and a prison woven into one, guarding secrets deeper than the darkest recesses of the city. Alara had not always been this shadow among shadows. Once, she was a warrior of a forgotten order, a guardian sworn to uphold a sacred balance long before Arcanis Prime had risen from the ashes of war. Her people had been keepers of ancient knowledge, wielders of power that transcended technology, blending science and mysticism in a harmony lost to time. The device around her neck was a relic from that era, not a tool of enslavement, but a key, a lock holding back a force that could unravel worlds or restore them to their lost glory. To remove it was to risk everything, not just for Alara, but for the fragile equilibrium of the cosmos. Her capture had been a betrayal of epic proportions, orchestrated by those who feared the resurgence of such power. Stripped of her rank, her memories fragmented, and thrust into the heart of Arcanis Prime's underworld, Alara was forced to navigate a maze of lies, alliances, and deadly games. Every glance from the city's denizens was tinged with suspicion. Every whisper carried the weight of rumor and fear. Yet beneath her calm exterior, a tempest brewed, a determination to reclaim her true self and uncover the forces that sought to bind her fate. It was on one particularly grim evening, beneath the flickering neon signs of a market district notorious for its trade in forbidden tech, that fate intervened. The air was thick with the scent of ionized metal and roasted alien meats, mingling with the distant hum of hovercraft and the murmur of clandestine deals. Alara's presence was a ripple in the stagnant current of the crowd, her poised, yet wary movements attracting the attention of those attuned to power and mystery. Among the watchers was Kale, a mercenary with a reputation carved from countless battles and whispered rumors of a past drenched in secrets. His eyes, sharp and calculating, had caught sight of Alara days before, but it was tonight that their paths crossed in a way neither could have anticipated. Kale was drawn not by the supposed slave collar, but by something far more elusive, a flicker of strength and enigma that defied the city's harsh realities. As he approached her, the crowded noise dimmed in his senses, his focus narrowing to the figure before him, standing like a solitary star in a sea of chaos. Without understanding the full weight of what he was about to do, Kale reached out and touched the collar, his fingers brushing its cool surface with a mix of curiosity and suspicion. The device responded, a subtle pulse of light emanating from within, as if acknowledging a presence long awaited. To the onlookers, it was an act of liberation, removing a symbol of bondage from a captive's neck. But for Alara, it was a moment charged with peril and revelation. The collar was more than metal and circuitry. It was a living tether holding ancient forces at bay. Its removal would awaken memories buried deep and unleash a destiny intertwined with the fate of stars. As Kale unclasped the device, a shockwave of energy rippled through the air, unseen but deeply felt. Alara's eyes flashed with recognition, her posture shifting from resignation to fierce resolve. In that instant, the truth spilled forth, not of slavery, but of imprisonment, not of submission, but of power restrained. The city around them seemed to hold its breath, the very fabric of reality bending on the edge of revelation. Neither Kale nor Alara yet understood the storm they had set in motion, but the threads of fate were now irrevocably entwined. This was only the beginning of a journey that would traverse forgotten realms, ignite ancient conflicts, and redefine the meaning of freedom and destiny in a universe where nothing was ever truly as it seemed. Kale's fingers lingered on the cool metallic band as he carefully unclasped the device, expecting the familiar click of a slave collar's release, a gesture of liberation in the eyes of many. Yet as the collar slid free from Alara's neck, the air around them seemed to shift, charged with an energy that rippled through the crowded market like a sudden gust through still leaves. Alara's eyes widened, her body stiffening not from relief, but from a sudden surge of awareness, as if something long dormant had been awakened within her. The collar was not a shackle, but a seal, a living prison forged from ancient technology and mysticism that had bound her powers, her identity, and her memories. Kale, oblivious to the deeper significance, stepped back, watching with a mixture of curiosity and caution as Alara's pale skin shimmered faintly, veins glowing with a delicate blue light that pulsed in rhythm with the rising energy around her. The market crowd fell into hushed silence, sensing the shift in the atmosphere, their eyes darting between the two figures now caught in a moment far beyond simple freedom or captivity. Alara's mind flooded with images, fragments of a past life where she stood as a guardian of worlds, wielding forces that could heal or devastate with equal measure. Faces of allies and enemies blurred together as memories surged back, overwhelming yet illuminating, revealing the truth behind the myth of her slave collar. She was not a slave, but a prisoner of fate, marked and restrained by a power that many feared. The collar had been her safeguard, but also her cage, designed to keep her from losing control or becoming a threat to the fragile balance of the universe. Kale reached out instinctively, steadying her as the energy coursed through her, unsure of what he had unleashed. "Who? What are you?" he asked, his voice low but laced with awe and a hint of fear. Alara's voice, when it came, was steady despite the tempest inside her. "I am Alara, and I have been bound longer than I remember. You have freed me, but not from all my chains." The crowd began to disperse, whispers spreading like wildfire, while Kale helped Alara to her feet. Though unaware of the true depth of the moment, he sensed their destinies had entwined irrevocably. Together, they stepped away from the market's prying eyes, toward a future shadowed with mystery, danger, and the promise of revelation. Chapter 2. Bound by Destiny. The cityscape of Arcani's Prime faded behind them as Kale led Alara through narrow passageways and hidden corridors known only to those who navigated the underbelly of the metropolis. The glow of neon signs gave way to dim lights and the hum of ancient machinery, setting a stage where secrets and shadows held sway. Alara's senses sharpened with every step, her newly awakened powers whispering warnings and possibilities in tandem, a fragile balance she struggled to master. Their destination was Kale's refuge, a safe house fortified against the chaos outside, where information was currency and trust was a rare commodity. Inside the sparse room, lit by flickering holoscreens and lined with maps of star systems and forgotten worlds, Kale began to unravel what little he knew of Alara's past. He spoke cautiously, aware that every word might tip the delicate scales of her fragile state. "The collar wasn't just a symbol," Kale explained. "It's rumored to be an ancient device, one that binds more than just flesh. Some say it holds back dangerous power, that those who wear it are guardians or threats, depending on who you ask." Alara nodded, her eyes reflecting a profound sorrow mixed with resolve. It held me captive, but not by chains you can see. It held my essence, my memories, and the force I was sworn to protect. As they spoke, Alara revealed glimpses of her origin, of a sacred order that guarded the cosmic balance, of wars fought across galaxies to protect knowledge too powerful for any one species, and of a betrayal that led to her imprisonment on Arcani's Prime. She was not a slave, but a key, living conduit to forces that could tip the scales of power in the universe. Kale listened, his skepticism melting into a determined resolve to protect her. Then we have to find out who imprisoned you, and why, he said firmly. Because if they want to control you, or the power you hold, they'll come looking. The weight of her past pressed heavily upon Alara's shoulders, but the promise of alliance and the spark of newfound freedom kindled a fierce hope within her. Together, they vowed to uncover the truth, face the shadows lurking in the cosmos, and redefine what it meant to be free, not just from collars or chains, but from the hidden shackles of destiny itself. The night deepened outside Kale's refuge, but inside the modest room cluttered with star charts, data pads, and relics scavenged from forgotten worlds, the atmosphere was charged with urgency and unspoken questions. Alara sat quietly, her pale hands resting on the worn table as fragments of her shattered past flickered through her mind like broken holograms. Each memory was a shard of light and shadow, glimpses of a life spent guarding cosmic secrets, of battles waged not just in physical realms, but within the very fabric of time and space. The collar that Kale had removed was more than a device. It was a seal, crafted by her own order to contain a power that even she scarcely understood. To release, it was to unlock both salvation and peril. Kale paced the room, his rugged face set in a mask of determination. We need to find answers. Who put that collar on you, and why? If your past is truly tied to such immense power, there are forces out there who won't stop until they have it back. His voice was low but resolute, carrying the weight of a man accustomed to danger and betrayal. He pulled up encrypted transmissions intercepted in the region, scanning for any clues that might illuminate Alara's mysterious imprisonment. Yet the galaxy was vast, and shadows were deep. Alara's eyes glimmered with a mix of frustration and hope. My order was betrayed, she confessed softly. We were guardians of balance, protectors of knowledge that could unravel civilizations if misused. The collar was meant as protection for me, for them, and for the universe itself. But betrayal came from within. I was marked, stripped of my place, and cast into this prison disguised as a city. Her voice trembled, not from fear, but from the ache of loss and the weight of responsibility that now rested heavily on her shoulders. The revelation cast a new light on the path ahead. This was not just a fight for freedom, but a battle to preserve a fragile cosmic equilibrium. Alara's powers, once contained and suppressed, now stirred restlessly within her, eager to awaken fully, but tempered by the knowledge that recklessness could invite catastrophe. Kale watched her with growing respect, understanding that she was no mere captive but a custodian of forces beyond comprehension. Together, they plotted their next move. The first priority was to reach out to surviving members of Alara's order, scattered like stars across the galaxy, holding fragments of truth and remnants of power. But such a quest was fraught with peril, enemies hidden in plain sight, mercenaries hired to capture or kill, and a political web of intrigue spanning star systems. Every step toward uncovering the past risked stirring ancient conflicts and awakening dark ambitions. As dawn approached, Alara stood at the window, gazing at the city's glittering skyline, a constellation of hopes and threats intertwined. Kale joined her silently, their shared silence speaking volumes. Though the road ahead was uncertain and shadowed, a bond had been forged between them, one of trust, resilience, and the unyielding determination to reclaim what had been lost. Neither was just survivor nor savior. Together, they were becoming the architects of a new destiny, one that might restore balance or shatter worlds. In that quiet moment before the chaos of the coming days, Alara whispered, "I don't know if I can control what's inside me anymore." Kale's steady hand rested on her shoulder. "Then we'll face it together. Whatever comes next, you won't be alone." And so, beneath the fading stars of Arcani's Prime, their journey began, one woven with danger, discovery, and the relentless pursuit of truth in a universe where freedom was the greatest power of all. The morning light crept cautiously into the small room, filtering through grime-smeared windows and illuminating dust motes that danced in the stale air. Alara sat cross-legged on a worn cushion, eyes closed as she reached inward, seeking to calm the storm that roared beneath her skin. The collar's removal had unshackled more than just her neck. It had unleashed a torrent of emotions, memories, and latent power she had long buried beneath layers of survival instinct and self-preservation. Waves of anger, grief, and determination surged within her, threatening to overwhelm the fragile calm she struggled to maintain. Kale watched her quietly, his usual bravado softened by genuine concern. This was no ordinary woman. She was a force bound by cosmic chains and ancient secrets, a prisoner of a destiny far larger than either of them could fully grasp. He understood now that her freedom came with a price, a responsibility that reached beyond the confines of Arcani's prime or even their immediate survival. Whatever lay ahead, Alara's path would shape not only her fate, but the fate of worlds. Their fragile alliance was forged in trust and necessity, but it was vulnerable to the shadows lurking in the vastness of space. The enemies who had imprisoned Alara would not rest. Forces hungry for power, control, or vengeance were already stirring, their agents moving silently through the undercurrents of the galaxy's dark networks. Kale resolved that before they could seek answers or confront these threats, they needed allies, those who understood the ancient order Alara once belonged to, and who could help her reclaim her strength without losing herself to the overwhelming forces within. Their plan was risky: send a discreet signal to scattered remnants of the Guardians, encrypted with codes only Alara's order could recognize. The message was a call for aid, a plea cloaked in mystery and urgency. Kale prepared to pilot their battered ship through hidden routes and abandoned star systems, places where old alliances still held sway and where the ghosts of Alara's past might still linger. The journey promised answers, but also danger, for every beacon of hope was shadowed by the threat of betrayal and war. As the first star of dawn blinked awake in the sky, Alara opened her eyes, meeting Kale's steady gaze. "I'm ready," she said softly, her voice carrying the weight of resolve and an unspoken plea for redemption. "Not just to reclaim my past, but to define my future." Kale nodded, a grim smile touching his lips. "Then let's get moving. The galaxy won't wait for us to catch up." Chapter 3: Echoes of the Past. The ship's engines hummed steadily, a low pulse of life propelling them through the silent void. Outside the viewport, stars stretched endlessly, a tapestry of light that concealed both promise and peril. Inside, Alara and Kale sat side by side, the space between them charged with anticipation and the weight of unspoken fears. The encrypted signal they had sent was a beacon thrown into the cosmic darkness, a hope to find others who could illuminate the path ahead. Their journey took them to the fringes of forgotten sectors, places where time itself seemed to warp and ancient relics whispered secrets lost to the ages. Alara's memories flickered more vividly in these places, visions of towering temples carved into asteroid faces, of endless libraries containing knowledge that could birth or destroy civilizations. She felt the stirrings of her old self, the warrior and guardian she once was, tempered now by the humility of exile and the fragile hope of redemption. But the past was never far behind. Shadowy figures watched from the edges of star systems, their agents moving with quiet precision to intercept, capture, or destroy. The balance Alara sought to restore was coveted by many, a prize worth bloodshed and treachery. Kale's experience as a mercenary and strategist proved invaluable, navigating through ambushes and subterfuge, always keeping them one step ahead. In the quiet moments between danger, Alara shared stories of her order, their sacred oath to protect the cosmic balance, the betrayal that had shattered their ranks, and the sealing of her powers within the collar to prevent catastrophe. Kale listened, absorbing a history that was as vast and complex as the stars themselves. The truth reshaped his understanding of their quest, turning it from a simple rescue mission into a cosmic struggle for survival and meaning. As they approached the coordinates of the first potential ally, a hidden enclave known only as the Sanctuary of the Veil, Alara's pulse quickened. This was more than a refuge, it was a symbol of hope and defiance. A bastion where the remnants of her order might still hold the keys to unlocking her full potential. But the path to sanctuary was fraught with risk, and the shadows trailing them closed ever tighter. Together, they prepared to face whatever awaited ghosts of the past, enemies of the present, and the uncertain dawn of a future only they could forge. The sanctuary of the Vale was nothing like the sprawling metropolises or fortified outposts Alara and Kale had traversed. Nestled deep within a nebulous star cluster known as the Whispering Mists, the sanctuary was hidden from prying eyes and hostile forces by veils of cosmic dust and shimmering energy fields. Approaching the sanctuary felt like crossing the threshold into a different realm altogether, a place where time folded softly around ancient wisdom and where the echoes of forgotten knowledge hummed in the very fabric of space. As their ship slipped through the shimmering defenses, Alara felt a familiar warmth ripple through her body, the long-dormant energies within her responding to the sanctuary's subtle call. The air inside the sanctuary was thick with quiet power, and the architecture was an elegant blend of organic curves and crystalline structures that seemed to pulse with life. Alara's footsteps were soft on the smooth floors, her senses alive with the presence of others beings who bore the marks of her order, their eyes reflecting both weariness and fierce determination. These were the remnants of the Guardians, scattered across the galaxy, yet bound by a shared purpose, to preserve the balance and protect the secrets that could tip the scales of power. Their leader, a tall figure cloaked in iridescent robes, approached with measured grace. Her eyes held centuries of knowledge and sorrow, yet there was a spark of hope ignited by Alara's return. "You have awakened, Alara," she said, her voice both a greeting and a challenge. "The collar's release has stirred forces beyond your understanding. The balance we have guarded is fragile, and the shadows seeking you grow bolder." Alara bowed her head, absorbing the weight of the words. "I seek not just to reclaim my power, but to understand how to wield it without destruction. The betrayal that bound me was deep. Those who imprison me fear what I represent, but I fear losing myself to the power I barely control." Kale stood at her side, a steady presence amid the swirling currents of ancient conflict. "We've been pursued relentlessly," he said. "Whoever wants her captured isn't just after a prisoner, they want the power sealed within." The leader nodded solemnly. "Then your journey is just beginning. The sanctuary can offer guidance, but the true trial lies ahead, facing the darkness that shattered our order and reclaiming the legacy you were born to uphold." As Alara and Kale delved into the sanctuary's archives, poring over relics, star maps, and encrypted holos, they uncovered a history of cosmic wars and forgotten betrayals. Alara's collar was a linchpin in an ancient struggle, a device meant to contain a force so immense it could remake or unravel galaxies. The knowledge they sought was guarded jealously, but without it, Alara's power risked consuming her or falling into the hands of those who would wield it for domination. Days blurred into nights as the sanctuary's lessons tested Alara's will and strength. Kale's role shifted from protector to partner, aiding her in mastering her abilities, grounding her as the forces within threatened to overwhelm. Their bond deepened, forged in shared peril and mutual trust, a beacon of hope against the encroaching darkness. But even as Alara grew stronger, a chilling revelation emerged: a faction within the Order itself had sided with their ancient enemies, thirsting for power and revenge. The enemy was closer than they feared, their betrayal cutting deeper than any external threat. With the sanctuary as their bastion, Alara and Kale prepared to confront not only the shadows that hunted them from afar, but the traitors within their own ranks. The battle for her soul, and the fate of countless worlds, was fast approaching. The sanctuary's tranquil aura belied the storm brewing beneath its crystalline spires. As Alara and Kale delved deeper into the archives, piecing together fragments of ancient lore, a chilling pattern emerged, one that shattered their fragile sense of security. The betrayal that had led to Alara's imprisonment was not the work of distant enemies, but rooted in the very heart of the Guardian Order itself. Some among her own kind had turned their backs on the sacred oath, driven by ambition and a lust for power that rivaled the darkest forces they once sought to contain. The revelation hit Alara like a physical blow. Faces she had once trusted, names etched into her memories as allies, now twisted by deceit and ambition. The collar she bore was not only a seal but a safeguard against those who would harness her power for destruction rather than balance. Kale's sharp eyes scanned the data holos, uncovering coded messages and hidden agendas buried deep within the Sanctuary's networks. "They've been playing a long game," he muttered grimly, waiting for the right moment to strike. With their sanctuary compromised and time running short, Alera's resolve hardened. The power that surged within her was no longer a mystery to fear, but a force to command, one that could tip the scales in a battle for the future of countless worlds. But to wield it, she would have to confront not only the external threats lurking in the shadows of the galaxy, but the traitors within her own legacy. The decision was made to leave the sanctuary and seek out the scattered loyalists, those few still bound by the true oath to rally a resistance against the encroaching darkness. Kale prepared their ship for departure, his mind racing with strategies and contingencies. Alera's gaze lingered on the sanctuary's ancient walls, a bittersweet farewell to a place that had been both refuge and prison. As they boarded their vessel, an alert sounded, a breach in the outer defenses. The traitors had come for them sooner than expected. The sanctuary shook under the assault of energy blasts and shadowy figures emerging from cloaked ships. In the chaos, Alera unleashed a surge of power, a brilliant cascade of light and energy that tore through the invaders, buying precious moments for their escape. The ship blasted off amidst the swirling nebulae, weaving through the cosmic dust as alarms blared. The battle was far from over, but Alera and Kale were alive, their mission clear: to ignite the flames of rebellion, reclaim the honor of the Guardians, and face the ultimate reckoning that destiny had long foretold. Chapter 4: The Reckoning and New Dawn. The stars streaked past the viewport as their ship cut through hyperspace, carrying Alera and Kale toward an uncertain future. The weight of betrayal and the enormity of their task pressed heavily on their shoulders, yet beneath the burden glowed a fierce hope, a promise born from fire and shadow. They were no longer fugitives bound by ancient chains, but leaders of a cause that could reshape the galaxy. Their first destination was a hidden outpost on the fringe of known space, a rallying point for loyalists scattered by years of strife. Here, Alera would confront not only her enemies but her own fears, learning to embrace the full extent of her powers without losing herself to the consuming fire within. Kale, ever the strategist and protector, would stand by her side, a steady anchor in the swirling chaos. As they approached the outpost, signals of rebellion and resistance flickered to life, voices joining in a chorus of defiance against tyranny and deceit. The journey ahead would test every ounce of courage, loyalty, and sacrifice. But together, they embodied a new dawn, a fusion of ancient wisdom and indomitable will, poised to challenge the darkness threatening to engulf their world. Alera's eyes, once filled with doubt and fear, now shone with unyielding determination. "This is only the beginning," she whispered. "We will fight not just for survival, but for freedom, for truth, and for the future we choose." Kale nodded, his hand finding hers in a silent vow. "And whatever comes, we face it together." The galaxy held its breath as the rebels prepared to rise, their flames of hope ignited by a prisoner freed, a collar removed, and a destiny reclaimed. The hidden outpost was carved into the jagged cliffs of a remote moon orbiting a dying star, its structures a blend of rugged stone and sleek technology. The air buzzed with the energy of whispered plans, hurried footsteps, and the quiet hum of machinery preparing for war. Alera stepped from the ship onto the worn platform, her senses immediately alert to the weight of expectation and desperation mingling in the atmosphere. Here, the Loyalists had gathered warriors, scholars, and survivors, all bound by a single purpose: to restore the honor of the Guardians and prevent the darkness from swallowing the galaxy whole. Kale remained at her side, a constant pillar of strength as they navigated the bustling hub of resistance. They were met with wary eyes and cautious greetings. Trust had been shattered too many times, and the wounds ran deep. Yet as Alera spoke of her vision, her past, and the power she now embraced, the doubts began to wane, replaced by flickers of hope and the rekindling of old loyalties. The outpost's leader, a grizzled veteran named Saris, nodded solemnly. "The time for hiding is over," he said. We will stand and fight for the balance, for freedom, and for the future you carry in your hands." The days that followed were a whirlwind of preparation. Alara immersed herself in training and strategy sessions, honing her burgeoning powers under the guidance of surviving elders and trusted allies. The energy within her was no longer a dormant force, but a living, breathing entity demanding mastery and discipline. She learned to channel it, bending light and matter with focused will, but always mindful of the fine line between control and chaos. Kale coordinated defenses, gathered intelligence, and forged fragile alliances across fractured worlds, his pragmatism balancing Alara's vision. As the rebellion's strength grew, so did the threat. The traitorous faction, now fully revealed as a coalition of power-hungry warlords and corrupted guardians, unleashed brutal raids on outposts and supply lines. Their forces were vast, equipped with stolen technology and dark rituals that twisted the fabric of reality. The galaxy teetered on the edge of annihilation, the conflict escalating into a war not just for territory, but for the very soul of existence. Amidst this turmoil, Alara and Kale shared moments of rare quiet brief respites where they could reflect on how far they had come. Their bond, forged in fire and shadow, had become unbreakable, a beacon of light in the darkness. Alara often found herself marveling at the resilience of the human beside her, his unwavering loyalty a steady flame against the storm. The decisive battle loomed, a confrontation at the heart of an ancient, forgotten world where the traitors sought to unleash a cataclysmic power long sealed away. The fate of countless civilizations rested on the outcome, and Alara felt the weight of destiny heavier than ever. As the rebellion's forces assembled beneath alien skies, she stood before them, a symbol of hope and defiance. With a voice that echoed through the gathering, Alara declared, "We fight not as slaves to fear or darkness, but as free beings bound by choice, courage, and hope. Today, we reclaim our future." The clash that followed was fierce and unrelenting. Waves of energy, ancient magic, and relentless courage collided in a tempest that reshaped the battlefield. Alara and Kale fought side by side, their synergy a testament to the power of unity. Through sacrifice and determination, the rebellion shattered the traitor's stronghold, sealing away the dark power once more. In the aftermath, as the dust settled and stars shone anew, Alara looked to the horizon, a galaxy forever changed, yet filled with the promise of renewal. The collar that had once bound her was gone, but the legacy it represented endured, a legacy of strength, freedom, and the enduring power of choice. The battlefield lay quiet beneath a sky ablaze with distant stars, the last echoes of war fading into the cold silence of the cosmos. Alara stood atop a ridge overlooking the remnants of the traitor's stronghold, the ancient ruins now bathed in the soft light of dawn. Around her, the loyalists of the Guardians gathered, faces worn by battle but shining with hard-earned hope. The weight of what they had endured pressed heavily on every soul, yet there was a collective breath of relief, a momentary reprieve in a struggle that was far from over. The collar that once encircled Alara's neck, a symbol so often mistaken for slavery, had long since been destroyed in the crucible of their final battle. But its meaning endured, not as a mark of servitude, but as a seal of immense responsibility. Removing it had unleashed her true power, a force capable of shaping worlds, but also of unraveling them. In reclaiming her freedom, Alara had come to understand that true liberty was not simply the absence of chains, but the mastery of self and destiny. Kale stepped beside her, his presence steady and reassuring amidst the shifting tides of fate. "You did it," he said softly, his voice carrying both admiration and the quiet burden of their shared journey. "Not just for yourself, but for all of us." Alara's gaze remained fixed on the horizon, where new stars flickered to life like promises in the void. "This is only the beginning," she replied, her voice resolute. "The darkness we fought was but a fragment of the greater chaos lurking beyond. We've won this battle, but the war for balance, for freedom, will never truly end." Their victory had sparked a renaissance among the scattered guardians and their allies, a rekindling of ancient oaths and new alliances forged in the fires of hardship. The sanctuary, once threatened by treachery and shadow, was reborn as a beacon of hope, a place where knowledge and power could be wielded wisely, not to dominate but to protect. Alara understood that her path forward was not solitary. The galaxy was vast, filled with both light and darkness, and the true measure of freedom lay in unity and trust. With Kale and the Loyalists beside her, she would navigate the uncertain future, ready to face whatever storms awaited. As they turned from the ruins, stepping into the dawn of a new era, Alara felt a profound peace, not born of victory, but of purpose. The collar was gone, but the legacy it symbolized lived on. The strength to choose one's destiny, the courage to defy fate, and the enduring hope that even in the darkest shadows, freedom could prevail. Their story was far from over, but one truth remained clear: freedom was not given. It was fought for, claimed with sacrifice and heart, and guarded fiercely by those brave enough to wield it.